Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is Life, Lessons, and Laughter with Glenn Ambrose.
You didn't pause.
I didn't. Oh, damn it.
You didn't pause. That's a good thing.
No, that's my thing. I just trashed my thing.
All right, try it again. Don't restart. Just
Okay.
try it again.
Hello, welcome to Life,
There it
Lessons,
is.
and Laughter with Glenn Ambrose. You can see the mouse running in the wheel. Trying to think. What is it? Thanks for that weird intro, Ben.
That's what I'm here for.
It was so seamless, and we had to trash it to make it me.
Yes, it has to be authentic. That's what the people tune in for.
Yes.
The authentic Glenn Gary Michael. What was your middle name?
Oh my
Alan.
God, Glenn Ross.
Glenn Gary Ambrose.
That sounds silly. I'd be pissed at my parents if they pulled that one. Glenn Allen Ambrose.
But I think that you could take that and turn it into a good thing, which is a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Why don't you introduce
Yeah.
the subject?
The subject is using your real middle name. No. It's turning negatives into positives. What do you think about that, Ben?
I think that is one of the most helpful tools and ideas and mindsets. That's a pretty simple idea, but it's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and it's
As
hard
most
to-
of this is.
Right. It's hard to actually apply it, you know, and we're hoping Dave's going to give us a hand on this episode, too.
Who's Dave?
He's one of our producers.
Sounds like a jerk.
Oh, good guy.
He is a bit of a jerk.
Good guy. Sometimes he'll look at things in the negative.
Is that why I'm here?
Absolutely.
Keep us honest.
I thought
Dave is the
guys said-
negative portion of our turning negatives into a positive podcast today.
you guys said that this was pretzel day.
It still can be if you do a good job.
All right.
Dave, I mean, you can't deny that you're a little negative in life. The name of your podcast that you host is The Sky is Falling.
Yeah, because it is. And you better watch out.
Nothing an umbrella can't cure.
Yeah.
So
What?
nothing an umbrella can. All right.
All right.
Well, this is going to be mostly the laughter with a little bit of lessons. And
I like it better that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll suck out the laughter real quick.
I'll suck the energy right out of this thing. That is what we're going to talk about today, and it's an important thing, and it's simple, but it is hard to do. It's hard to implement into your everyday life because we're very habitual beings. So we find we fall into these habits of just looking at things through a negative light, and plus we're so busy, so it's go all the time, and it just happens, and we go with it, and we move on, and it's our normal state. What we think is normal is, if we slow down and really look at it, it's a little perverse. And I mean, just the negative outlook we have on things on a regular basis, and I catch it in myself too. But it's when I slow down and pay attention to what I'm thinking that I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why am I even thinking about that? Or why am I thinking about it in that way? That benefits me in no way. All it does is bring me down. And if I'm not conscious of my thoughts on a regular basis and slowing down enough to at least know what I'm thinking, then I don't catch it. So it is simple, and it's just a matter of implementing it into our day and not just going about business as usual, Now,
the main way that I've always not always, but for for the last couple of years at least, I've always tried to take negatives and turn them into positives, but I mainly do it, or at least think about it, in creative aspects only, like not so much in my day-to-day life. That's kind of confusing to me, but it's easy for me to look at in a creative way, like some examples of ways to take negative things and make them into positive that I've seen and that I've like used as an idea is there was a theater company in London that didn't have any money, which is a very negative thing. They didn't have enough money to do the production and hire an orchestra. From that negative came one of the coolest styles. The director's name is John Doyle, and he's famous now for having the musicians having stripped down the production completely of mostly, no sets, single costumes. Actors never leave the stage, and the actors all are their own orchestra. They all play their own instruments for the show.
He found a way.
He found a way to do it. He found a way to take this negative of not being able to afford an orchestra and a cast and all of the sets, and turning that into the positive of creating this new
whole
version
new way
of these shows that have become like cult classics in Broadway.
So it's a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So he needed to find a way, and he found a way.
So with those kind of examples as examples, as something to look towards, as like, well, you can take what you have and make something good out of it instead of focusing on the negativity of it. I've used that idea in like not having a budget for like the theater stuff that we've done, or like one year we tried to do a big musical review production the normal way with like 5 guys, 5 girls, that kind of a thing. The only person we had was Dave, and we kind of recreated that and turned it into Dave with all of these girls around him, and that was the thing. So like it's easy for me to take a negative and turn it into a positive in the creative aspect.
Right.
But the personal aspect is very difficult, and
it's the same process. So like we're all at different places. So where you are, you can take your ability. I do this in the gym all the time. It's when we're good at something in a certain area, or when we have a secure environment to experiment in, do it there and then bring it into your everyday life. So you're good at it. What you need to do is just bring the consciousness that you've learned how to use in your creative business world and start applying it to other areas in your own life. You've got one of the hardest things to do is, one, get good at doing it, and 2, just practice doing it. You've done those things. So
I wouldn't say that we're good at it.
Well, I would.
No comment.
But I mean, is
this the appropriate place to just say no comment?
Yeah.
I will not say anything.
But I mean, you've done that in different areas, so in your creative and business world. So that's success. That's being able to do it. So you take that and you just bring it into your everyday life a little bit more. And a lot of it, like I said at the beginning, is about slowing down in your everyday life and going, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be doing that positive thing. So how can I look at this positive? Learning to recognize negative feelings as a red flag that something needs to be looked at differently. So when you're feeling that uncomfortableness, that negativity, that can turn into a red flag to be like, hey, wait a minute. How can I look at this differently? Because there's always a different way to look at it. There's different perspectives. Everybody has different perspectives. And your reality is your perspective. It's how you look at things. You know, you can have a whole bunch of negative situations going on, and I've been there, and then change your perspective, and then the next day you still get the same situations, but you're looking at them in a completely different light with hope, and that's when you start figuring out ways to deal with them.
So, what is a...
There's a truck that's been backing up for like the past 10 minutes, and it is killing me.
Oh, really?
Can you hear that?
I can hear it,
It's
yeah.
just been beeping. I don't know if it's backing up the entire street, but this is really annoying probably to the listener. There's just this faint beeping, and I'm like, what is that? And then I just took off my headphones, and it's a truck backing up, but it's been happening for 11 minutes now, because that's how long we've been recording.
I didn't even hear it.
Ugh.
I heard it.
It's like...
Well, now that you mentioned it,
I
like I'm
yeah, I
like,
think
oh
it's
yeah,
okay.
you know. But yeah.
I'm sorry to anyone who noticed that. It's we're not in a city, but you might as well believe it because we're in the most populated area of a small town.
We are in the most highly condensed area.
You can still hear it.
Oh, yeah, you can still. Yep.
I just heard it.
Anytime we stop talking for a second,
I don't know if it's
you
just
can hear
stuck
it.
in reverse and they just left it running, or if it's backing up the entire street. But I don't. It's seriously been going the whole time. But sorry.
I was wondering what was going on.
Please continue.
I didn't.
You know, I think that by pointing that out, this is going to be really weird and probably stupid, but I think that by pointing out that imperfection, that there's a truck backing up like outside our window,
Well, because
we cannot control, which is a negative situation and hurts the audio quality of this podcast. You brought it up and made jokes about it and turned it into a positive thing because now it's content.
Oh, darn it, Dave.
You did it. You did it.
Shouldn't have said anything.
We sucked him right into
No
this.
comment.
We did. But if you had just wanted to sit in that negativity of the imperfection on the audio and the fact that there's an annoying truck backing up, which sounds like it just went into forward drive mode, whatever that means.
Forward drive mode.
Forward drive mode. That's what you call it. Anyway.
Alias silence.
Yeah. So you took a negative, you turned it into a funny positive.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome to the other side, Dave.
Can I just say that we're talking about Ben specifically right now. I mean, isn't that the biggest problem for you, Ben, is to take care of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard for you to transfer it into your everyday life, correct?
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what the point of this show is probably about.
Right.
Is because I think a lot of people would admit that implementing that into your everyday life is probably the hardest thing that you can do. Right?
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, I think I don't necessarily think it's one of the hardest things for you to do. I think it's one of the things that most people don't do.
Okay.
So, because I don't really think it is that hard. It's just that we don't know how to do it. And that really touches on one of my core beliefs in doing all the things that I do. Living a good, happy life really isn't that hard. It's not this big mountain we need to climb. It's just little adjustments we need to make, but we need to actually put the energy into making them. So, and like I mentioned earlier, I use this in the gym often doing personal training. If somebody can do something that's close to what I want them to do, then I start there. Start with what you already can do and work off of that. So it's the same with this. If you can turn a negative into a positive somewhere in your life, take that, start there, focus on that for a minute. Really absorb the fact that you can do it. Anybody can do this. This is really not that hard. It's not a crazy concept. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to wrap your brain around what needs to be done. You can get it if you just sit with it for a minute. Okay, we've all done it. at certain points. We've all turned a negative into a positive here or there. We have examples in our own life that we can refer to. So once you get that, really sit now. Okay, I can do this. It's really not that big of a deal. So I can do it. And then the next part is once you have that like self-confidence and that evidence from your own life, that's part of your experience, telling yourself, I know I can do this. Once you're in that space, then you just have to go out into your regular life and start slowing things down and looking to where can I do this? Where can I turn this negative? You know, let me be, I'm feeling uncomfortable. We'll turn that, like I said, into a red flag of if I'm feeling uncomfortable, if I'm feeling upset about something, let's try playing the game. Make a game out of it. How could I turn this into a positive? You know? And then if you just start doing it, then it's going to become a part of your life. It's just putting energy towards it. It's whatever you focus on grows. So if you focus on playing some silly game of turning negatives into positives, and you try to do that and you put energy towards it, you're going to get better at it. You know? So it's not that it's this huge undertaking. You seriously can make a game out of it. That's one of the best things to do.
I feel like one of the biggest things that for me has been a problem for this kind of a thing, because I consider myself a generally miserable person. But
Sorry.
I'm aware. I'm not somebody who, and I feel like a lot of people are probably like this. Unfortunately, they know what you just said. You know, they've heard that. You know, it could be better for you. It's not like they're unaware, and I know that I'm not unaware. I've heard things like this before, and it's kind of like most of the subjects that you've talked about in this show are issues that I deal with, and I feel like the biggest thing to realize is that, oh yeah. It's literally just when you decide to try.
Yes.
It's not just going to happen.
Right.
And I feel like that is something that I've really had to come to terms with, as stupid as it might sound.
Well, and it doesn't sound stupid, because you're right. That is what most people have to get through. You're not alone. That's another reason why I do what I do, because I've worked with a lot of people now. And I am very confident in what I say and what I do, because I see the same things with everybody. Yeah. It's just to a different extent. What you deal with is exactly the same thing I deal with.
Right, right.
And I consider myself a positive person. You consider yourself a negative person. We function exactly the same. Yeah. The difference is that I just apply some of these things a little bit more. You apply them a little bit less. Yeah. I've drawn a line in the sand years ago and said I didn't want to live like that and put effort. But in making those changes, I found out how easy it is once you finally decide to do it. And two, that it's not complicated. It is simple and anybody can do it. It's just that little thing that you said. Yeah. When are you going to draw the line in the sand? Yeah. When is other people, anybody, going to draw the line in the sand and say, you know what? I'm sick of living like this. I'm going to give this a shot. And a lot of times I tell people when they're teetering on that line, just give it a time frame. You know, pick a month. Right. 3 months, a year, whatever life changes you want, whatever is a realistic time frame for you to lock in, and then just say, I'm going to give it whatever effort I can muster up for that period of time, and then just go do it. And then, you know, mark the date on your calendar, and then at that date, sit down and look around and see if your life is different. And I guarantee you, if you put effort into this stuff, it's going to be different, and that's what's going to give you the motivation to go do it more.
Is it not, though, a big commitment?
No.
You don't think so? Because I feel like it's hard for me to... Okay, say I take a negative, turn into a positive once. The next time something crappy comes along, I'm going to be like, oh, man, I can't do this again. I'm just going to wallow.
Right, and that's it.
I feel like it's a big commitment to make that conscious, like, no, you're changing. You're making better decisions for yourself. You got to do that. And it's like, oof, the other part of me just always wins going, F it.
Yeah. Well, I think to me, a lot of times I'm very conscious of the words I choose, because words have meaning, and a lot of times they'll show what's happening underneath. And like you just said, isn't a big commitment. A commitment seems like, to me, it feels like a big undertaking.
Yeah.
And it takes, it's like, oh, I have to really commit myself to this. And it also aligns with the word failure.
No.
What happens if you don't live up to your commitment? Then you failed. Yeah, right. So, I mean, to me, that's how you look at it is a big thing. But does it take effort? Yes, it takes effort. To allow yourself just to sit back and wallow in the misery that you're used to sitting in is easier because you're used to it. You're comfortable there. So it does take effort to break out of that. So I use the word effort as opposed to a commitment. It's not a huge commitment, but it does take effort to sit there and go,
you actually
know
have
what?
to try.
I have to put some effort into this. If I think I'm just going to sit here and my life's going to get better without me putting in any effort, well, then it's probably not probably. It ain't going to happen, So yeah, realistically, it takes effort, but everything does, Everything takes effort. So what are we putting our efforts towards in our lives? We get up and take a shower and go to work when we don't want to. It happens, but it takes effort. We have to overcome our instinct to want to lay in bed and do nothing for that day, So we have to push through things on a regular basis. There's things in our life that we don't want to do. I don't want to go grocery shopping sometime. I wish somebody just drop it off at my house or clean my house, but I like to have a nice house to live in. So it's, that type of stuff, it takes effort, even though I don't want to do it. But what happens is, like anything, if it becomes a habit, if you just start doing it, it becomes a habit. And, you don't have a knockdown, drag out argument with yourself every time you're going to brush your teeth. You just do it because you need to, And it's the same thing with this stuff. Once you start doing it, it becomes that habit. And the fuel, I always say pain pushes us until pleasure pulls us. So the pain of living an unhappy life can push you to the brink where you decide to make some changes. Once you decide to make those changes and you start implementing this stuff, if you keep your eyes open, and Dave and Ben, I always tell you guys this at the gym, allow yourself to feel the benefit of doing something good for yourself. When you do something good and then you walk away going, oh crap, that was a pain in the butt. Well, you're not feeding yourself the positive energy for the effort that you just put in. So when you do put the effort in and you do change a negative into a positive, you got to be sitting there going, holy crap, I just did that. Yay me. Nice job. You know what? How do I feel inside? Do I feel better? Wait a minute. I do. I actually feel better inside. I like feeling happy as opposed to wallowing in my crap. I like this. And that's the fuel that pulls you further. And when you start doing this stuff, that's when the real big shift happens. And that's what's so exciting to watch. It's that changing point where the pain was pushing somebody and then all of a sudden the pleasure starts pulling them. And my life coaching phone calls get dramatically different. Because they're picking up and they're like, oh my God, Glenn, you should see this. And I did this and it was like that. And it was, and they're so excited. Now that's when I stop and I go, does this seem like a lot of hard work for you? They're like, oh my God, no, it's fun. It's exciting. It's a blast. I love doing this work. It's like, right. That's when the pleasure's pulling you because it is exciting to feel better. It is fun to feel better. It is nice walking around happy. That's when it really gets exciting when people make that shift.
How hard is that shift? Because I feel like a person that is miserable that might try the turning a negative into a positive will then look at that positive thing sometimes, or definitely without the shift, and they'll look at that positive thing, and instead of doing what you said, letting yourself acknowledge the good, will look at that positive thing and go, I'm just lying to myself. I did that, and that
But I
wasn't
am just playing a game.
But I am just playing a game. I'm just fooling myself. This isn't good. The good thing would be if the negative thing never happened. The negative thing still happened. So why is this? Dave's like, this is what I'm talking about.
Unfortunately, on an objective standpoint, though, to me, I would say that kind of just sounds like I'm making excuses to keep thinking negatively.
Yeah, and
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think objectively very much, do I? I'm not always in front of a microphone.
but this is
why we just need to keep him in front of a microphone.
we need to
at
keep
all
him on a
time.
microphone.
He's be recording everything I say.
Yes, for 30 days straight, he will be in front of a microphone.
You will be a different person.
I will.
We will no longer call you Davy Downer behind your back.
You
But
know,
that's
Tear
it,
face.
and it life is a game. What's reality?
Deep.
Reality is how we view it. Our reality is our perception.
Yeah.
It truly is. I mean, if you take two people that are stuck in a ghetto and one's going, I came from this, and isn't it going to be a great story when I get out of here? And then you take the other one and goes, I'm going to be dead by the time I'm 25. If you take those two people, they're in the same exact situation. And it's now their reality is their reality. And the one that thinks they're going to die is probably going to die. And the one that thinks they're going to get out of there is probably going to get out of there. It's so your reality is your perception. I can't stress that enough. It's so, if you want to walk around looking at things that in a miserable light, that's your reality. And you have every right to stay there if you so choose. I just, I'm talking to people because there are plenty of people who will fight me and be like, well, no, it's this way, it's that way. You can't tell me that that's good. Well, everything just is. We've touched on that before. Everything just is. It's not good or bad. It just is. So how do you want to live your life? How do you want to perceive it? And that is what creates your reality. I don't walk around happy because every circumstance in my life is the way I want it. That's not what deems my happiness. Happiness is not deemed by my circumstances. I create my own happiness in how I choose to look at things and how I choose to walk around and what mood I select at the beginning of the day. That's how I walk around happy. Now, some of my circumstances I like. Some of them I don't like, but it has nothing to do with my happiness. If we live as a reaction to our circumstances all day, we're never going to be happy. Oh, that happened, I don't like it, so therefore I'm unhappy. Well, then you're going to be unhappy a lot. But if we sit there and we do what we're talking about today and say, okay, I might not be happy with that situation. It just is. So first you accept it. It just is. This is the situation. I can't fight it. It's already happened. It is.
That's a big step.
Yeah. And just take all that emotion out of it. The fact is, it just is.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling against it, that's just a ridiculous waste of time. It's inducing pain on yourself and suffering for no reason. Yeah. Because it doesn't change the fact that this has happened.
Punching walls.
Yeah. So it happened. Okay. I accept it. Now you've got one of two things. Either you can some things you just have to stay in acceptance and be like, well, that's the way that thing went down. And then other times you're going to be able to do something about it. Mm. And if you are looking to turn a negative into a positive, then you're going to be able to see a way to turn it into a positive. If you're stuck in looking at it from a negative and you don't do this, then your situation is going to stay there. You're going to be stuck in a problem instead of looking for a solution. And that's another way of phrasing what we've been talking about today. Do you want to stay stuck in a problem, or do you want to live in a solution? If there's action that can be taken, if you're in a good space and you're looking for the positive, you're going to be able to find that action to take. If you're stuck in a negative, you're just going to stay and wallow there. So there.
Now, that was awesome.
We only have a couple minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's get into some specifics.
Yeah.
Because as I said at the beginning, I think that I have a decent grasp on how to take a negative and turn it into a positive when I'm dealing with something creative that we're doing. And I don't think that I have that same ability when it comes to personal life and personal problems. So a specific example of a personal issue, for example, debt. I had a lot of medical debt, for example, from when I was 22, and I had H1N1, and I was in the hospital. I was in a drug-induced coma. Big ordeal. Had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, over over $500,000 in medical debt. Woo. That's a very negative thing.
Well, that just is.
What is the positive in that? How do you turn a negative into a positive in a situation like that?
Well, the fact that there's a bunch of medical debt just is.
Okay.
It's a thing. It just is. It doesn't mean that you can't be happy. I mean, how would that suck the happiness out of you? There's no debtor's prison.
Right.
So that's a positive. They're not going to put you in jail because you have a bunch of medical debt.
Or say
I mean, you could just be very simple about it and be like, at least I have...
my health.
At least I'm alive and I have debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the alternative?
Right.
I could have just been refused medical treatment.
I do think that I took that attitude.
That's the very basic.
I definitely
one.
do think I took that attitude.
Yeah,
of, like,
see,
who
and this
cares
is,
about the? I don't.
And
like,
this is why
it's almost laughable. Like, I have like $900,000 in medical
ridiculous.
debt. Ha! That's
just
good
insane.
luck getting blood from the stone. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's not inhibiting your life. We stumbled along a really good tool for this too. A lot of times, just look at the opposite of the thought.
Yeah.
That's, to find the positive, that's one of the tools that you can use. Just look at the opposite. It's like, well, the opposite in this situation is you get medical treatment and you end up at hundreds of $1,000s in debt. The opposite of that is you don't get medical treatment and you die. Okay, which one you want to go with?
I mean, if they were to have said to you, all right, you got two choices.
you have the option.
You can have $1 million in medical debt over the next month or two, or we can let you die. Which one would you sign?
And realistically, that was the choice. Realistically, that was the choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have just said, you know what, I think this is going to be too expensive, pulled the tubes out and just, ran down the street and hid under a rock somewhere until you died. I mean, you could have done that.
And this is very morbid at this point, this conversation. So let's frame it in, there's a lot of, like, obviously I can see the turning a negative into a positive in terms of, like, situations of like breakups and divorce and problems on that level of ending a relationship. There's always the positives of, well, now you have the opportunity to do something else and to go in a different direction and to concentrate more on yourself at first, or to find out what you really want. That's
and that touches on something too. A lot of times we get caught up in the feelings. We think the feelings are us.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say you go through a breakup and you're feeling bad. You're feeling lonely. You miss that person. You feel a loss from the relationship. So we take that feeling and we're like, oh, that consumes us. Like, oh, my life must be messed up. This must be bad. No, that's sad feelings that are attached to you. It's not you. It's just you have some sad emotions. So if you can recognize it for what it is, and it's not you, it's just you have some sad emotions, then it's a lot easier to deal with, and then you can stay focused on the positive. You know, like, was this breakup in my best interest? You know, it's the intellectual outlook, the realistic outlook on things. Like, okay, well, we weren't happy together, so realistically this gives me the opportunity to find somebody that I can be happy with, or they can be happy with, you know. So that's the intellectual. If we stay there instead of going, oh, I feel sad and I don't like feeling sad, oh, this hurts, you know, if we stay caught up in that, then it's very hard to pull out of that and focus on the positive. You know, and the other thing too is the energy shift. That's important. It's you know, and some people will use different terms. An energy shift, a different outlook, a way of being. So, like, if once you decide, if you decided to stay caught up in the worry of having all the medical debt, if you're in that energy, if you're in that space, what do you think the chances are of finding a way to solve the problem?
I don't.
They're probably dramatically less than if you take the attitude that, you know what, at least I have my life, and you feel grateful about that. If you're feeling the gratitude for having your life and looking at things from a positive direction, and you're in that energy, then you go, okay, well, you know what, I'm good, man. I'm alive. It's worth it. Things are good. Now, maybe I'll look at that debt situation to see if there's anything I can do about it. What are your chances of finding a way to get out of it then? They're dramatically increased because of the space that you're in, you know? So that's the other byproduct, is you are a lot more capable of finding a solution to a situation you don't like when you're in good space. When you're in negative space, it's a lot harder. Your brain literally shuts down so you don't think so well. And you're not really looking for a solution because you're caught up in the negative. You're looking for the problem. You're not looking for the solution. So, you know, that makes a big difference as well.
We've gone way over.
Good.
And I swear to God, that truck has been going this whole time. There must be construction or something.
I blocked it out again.
I heard it right at the end of what you were just saying. Again, I was like, oh, that truck's back. I don't know if it ever left.
Jerry, do we have any final words?
Jerry?
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry Springer reference. Oh. Or at least where people can contact you.
I'm happy that I didn't get the Jerry Springer reference. I should have. I watched it too much.
Jerry, I used to watch him years ago. I met him down in Sarasota, Florida once. Nice guy. Anywho, back to reality. Yeah, contact me. Yeah, you can do that. Contact me at, where am I? Here's my
Here's your pause.
Yes.
Here's your pause.
And it was
that
so
one
natural.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel better. I'm all filled up inside. My website. What's my website? life-enhancement-services.com. My Facebook page, Life Enhancement Services, and Glenn Ambrose, my personal Facebook page.
Can I just say that we've taken a negative, which is the fact that you really do.
I completely blank.
You completely blank and stumble over the name of your show and your contact information every time, and we've made it into a little nice running joke.
Absolutely.
Negative, positive, boom. See you next week.
Absolutely. Good night.
A truck! This podcast is presented by New Shore Productions. Executive producers Glenn Ambrose, Benjamin Barber, and David DeAngelis.